I don't want to meet you unprepared. Dear future wife, before I ever see your face, before I ever learn your laugh, before I ever hold your hand, there's something you need to know. I'm becoming, not performing, not pretending, not waiting passively. Becoming. I don't want to meet you unprepared, not financially unprepared, not emotionally unprepared, not emotionally unprepared, not spiritually unprepared, not mentally unprepared. I want to meet you ready, not perfect, but intentional. There were seasons when I thought love was something you find first and grow into later. But I've realized something deeper. Love is something you prepare for before it arrives. So while I haven't met you yet, I'm not standing still. I'm refining myself. There are parts of me that needed sharpening. My patience, my discipline, my ability to listen without interrupting, my tendency to overanalyze, my instinct to withdraw when overwhelmed. I don't want to bring unexamined habits into our future. I want to bring awareness. Awareness creates responsibility, and responsibility strengthens love. Future wife, I'm learning how to communicate better, not just speak, but truly listen, to hear what's underneath words, to notice tone, to sense when something feels unresolved. I don't want you ever feeling unheard beside me. I'm practicing humility. Humility to apologize quickly. Humility to admit when I'm wrong. Humility to accept correction without defensiveness. I don't want pride living in our home. I want growth. I'm strengthening my emotional stability, not suppressing emotion, regulating it, so that when life gets heavy, I don't become reactive, so that when stress builds, I don't shut down, so that when conflict happens, I stay present. You deserve steadiness, not unpredictability. I'm working on my discipline, because love isn't sustained by feelings alone. It's sustained by daily effort. Consistency, intentionality, attention. I don't want to love you loudly at the beginning and lazily over time. I want to love you steadily, every season, every stage. I'm building habits now that will protect us later. Financial discipline, time management, boundaries with distractions. Because marriage doesn't survive on affection alone, it thrives on structure too. I don't want to offer you potential. I want to offer you preparation to protect, preparation to provide, preparation to lead with humility, preparation to support without insecurity, preparation to support without insecurity, preparation to celebrate your strengths without competition. I'm confronting my insecurities now, the fear of not being enough, the pressure to always perform, the tendency to carry stress silently. I don't want to hide those things from you later. I want to handle them now. So when I stand beside you, I'm not asking you to heal what I ignored. I'm asking you to grow with someone already aware. Future wife, I'm learning how to rest. Rest emotionally, rest spiritually, rest mentally, because I don't want to enter our marriage exhausted from chasing validation. I want to enter it content. Contentment changes everything. When you are content alone, you choose partnership from strength, not need. And I want to choose you from strength. I'm refining my vision. What kind of home I want to build, what kind of father I want to be, what kind of husband I want to embody. I don't want to improvise our future blindly. I want intention behind it. There are patterns from my past I've had to confront. Moments where I withdrew instead of communicating. Times when pride delayed vulnerability. Seasons where I prioritized ambition over presence. I'm not proud of those moments, but I'm grateful for the lessons. Because those lessons are shaping the man you will one day meet. I'm learning that strength is not dominance. It's consistency. It's calm in conflict. It's humility and correction. It's patience and misunderstanding. It's protection without control. You deserve that kind of strength. I'm building resilience. Because life will test us. Unexpected challenges, financial pressure, health concerns, family tensions, dreams that take longer than planned. I don't want to collapse under pressure. I want to anchor us through it, not because I'm invincible, but because I've trained myself to remain grounded. I'm strengthening my character when no one sees. Because character revealed later should not surprise you. Integrity when alone becomes reliability when together. Future wife, I don't know your personality yet, but I know this: I want you feeling safe. Safe to express emotion. Safe to challenge me respectfully. Safe to pursue your ambitions. Safe to rest in my presence. Safety is built by consistency, and consistency is built by discipline. So I'm becoming disciplined, not rigid, disciplined. I'm learning to lead without ego, to support without insecurity, to listen without defensiveness, to love without control. I don't want to enter marriage needing you to complete me. I want to enter marriage ready to complement you. There's a difference. Completion implies emptiness. Complement implies partnership. I am becoming whole. So when I meet you, I won't cling. I'll commit. I'm developing emotional awareness, understanding my triggers, understanding my stress responses, understanding how I react when things don't go my way, because marriage reveals everything. And I don't want revelation without preparation. And building patience, because love grows in seasons. Not everything blooms instantly. There will be moments when we misunderstand each other, moments when growth feels slow, moments when compromise feels uncomfortable. Patience protects connection during those times. I'm building vision, not just for career, for us, for family, for legacy, for spiritual growth, for emotional health. Because marriage isn't just about surviving, it's about building. I don't want to meet you and say, I hope I can figure this out. I want to meet you and say, I've been preparing for this. Preparing to choose you intentionally, preparing to honor you consistently, preparing to protect our peace fiercely, preparing to grow beside you humbly. Future wife, I'm not perfect. I still have areas to refine, moments of impatience, moments of overthinking, moments of self-doubt. But the difference now is awareness, and awareness changes trajectory. I am becoming the man you deserve, not because you demand perfection, but because you deserve intention. You deserve a man who has confronted himself, who has matured through solitude, who has learned from mistakes, who has strengthened weaknesses, who has chosen discipline over distraction, who has chosen growth over comfort, who has chosen patience over pressure. When we finally meet, I want you to sense it, not in arrogance, not in performance, in steadiness, in clarity, in peace. You won't meet a man chasing love. You'll meet a man prepared for it. Prepared to lead gently, prepared to lead gently, prepared to listen deeply, prepared to protect wisely, prepared to grow continuously, prepared to choose you daily. That is who I am becoming, for you. Even before I know your name, I refuse to offer you a half-built man. Dear future wife, when I say I'm becoming the man you deserve, I don't mean I'm trying to impress you before I've met you. I mean I refuse to offer you a half-built foundation. There's something I've realized in these quiet seasons of growth. Love doesn't fix character. It exposes it. If I am impatient now, marriage won't magically make me patient. If I am avoidant now, vows won't make me communicative. If I am inconsistent now, commitment won't make me steady. So instead of hoping love will mature me later, I'm choosing to mature now. I don't want to bring unresolved patterns into our life together and then ask you to endure them while I figure myself out. I want to bring awareness. I want to bring intentionality. There are parts of me I've had to confront honestly. My tendency to internalize stress, my habit of trying to solve everything alone, my instinct to stay silent when I'm overwhelmed. Those things may look strong from the outside, but strength about communication creates distance. And I don't want distance in our marriage. So I'm practicing vulnerability now. Not dramatic vulnerability. Honest vulnerability. Admitting when I'm tired. Admitting when I need encouragement. Admitting when something bothers me instead of pretending it doesn't. Because I don't want you guessing what's happening inside me. I want you knowing. Future wife, I'm learning to be emotionally available, not just emotionally aware. There's a difference. Awareness means I understand my feelings. Availability means I share them responsibly. And responsible sharing builds intimacy. I want to be the kind of man who doesn't disappear emotionally when life gets complicated. The kind who leans into conversation instead of retreating into silence. The kind who says, let's talk about it, even when it's uncomfortable, because comfort isn't the goal. Connection is. I'm also refining my mindset around leadership. Leadership isn't control, it's consistency. It's showing up even when you're tired. It's staying calm when emotions run high. It's making decisions thoughtfully instead of impulsively. It's protecting peace without suppressing truth. I don't want to dominate our relationship. I want to strengthen it. There were seasons when I confused ambition with priority, when I placed achievement above emotional presence, and I realized something sobering. You can build success and still lose connection. I don't want to build a life that looks impressive but feels distant. So I'm learning balance, learning that productivity should never replace presence, learning that attention is one of the greatest forms of love, learning that listening is more powerful than advising. Future wife, I'm becoming patient in ways that go beyond waiting for you, patient in conversations, patient in misunderstandings, patient in growth, because growth is rarely instant, and marriage is a lifelong process of becoming. I don't want to be the man who demands immediate understanding. I want to be the man who extends grace. Grace when communication falters. Grace when stress shifts tone. Grace when seasons feel heavy. Grace creates safety, and safety creates intimacy. I'm strengthening my discipline. Not because discipline is rigid, but because discipline sustains love when feelings fluctuate. Feelings are powerful, but discipline is reliable. Discipline to check in, discipline to apologize quickly, discipline to prioritize, date nights even when life feels busy, discipline to protect boundaries, discipline to remain faithful in thought and action, discipline to honor you even when you're not in the room, because loyalty isn't situational, it's intentional. I don't want to offer you passion without responsibility. I want to offer you passion anchored in character. There's another area I'm refining. My response to criticism, it's easy to feel defensive, easy to justify, easy to explain, but I'm learning to pause, to listen fully, to ask, is there truth here? Because growth often comes through correction, and I want to be correctable. I don't want pride to create distance between us. I want humility to create growth. Future wife, I'm learning to celebrate someone else's strength without insecurity, to support without competition, to lead without overshadowing, to protect without controlling. You deserve a partner, not a rival. You deserve support, not subtle comparison. You deserve encouragement, not quiet insecurity. I'm also refining my understanding of love languages, understanding that love isn't expressed the same way by everyone. I want to learn how you feel loved. Not assume, not guess. Learn. Because love given in the wrong language can feel unseen. And I don't want you feeling unseen. I'm practicing attentiveness now. Noticing details, remembering small things, valuing emotional nuance. Because intimacy is built in details. I don't want to only show up in grand gestures. I want to show up in ordinary days, in routine moments, in quiet evenings, in stressful mornings. Consistency in ordinary moments is what builds extraordinary connection. There are still areas where I am growing. I still overthink sometimes, still replay conversations in my mind, still feel the pressure to perform occasionally. But growth is not about eliminating flaws overnight. It's about confronting them honestly, and I am confronting them. I don't want you inheriting a man who is unaware of his blind spots. I want you meeting a man who has faced them, not perfectly conquered them, but acknowledged them, because acknowledgement prevents denial. And denial damages intimacy. Future wife, I'm also strengthening my spiritual discipline, not in ritual alone, but in perspective. Perspective that reminds me love is stewardship, that marriage is service, that commitment is sacred. I don't want to treat our union casually. I want reverence for it. Reverence changes how you speak, how you argue, how you forgive, how you choose daily. I'm becoming the man who can protect our peace fiercely, not by avoiding conflict, but by navigating it wisely. Not by suppressing emotion, but by regulating it. Not by controlling outcomes, but by prioritizing connection. I don't want to meet you as someone still chasing identity. I want to meet you grounded, secure in who I am, secure enough to celebrate who you are, secure enough to let you shine without fear, secure enough to admit when I need reassurance, because security is not silent strength. It's confident vulnerability. And I am building that now. I'm becoming the man you deserve, not because I think you demand perfection, but because you deserve intentionality. You deserve effort before you even arrive. You deserve preparation before proposal. You deserve maturity before marriage. And I refuse to meet you unready. When we finally cross paths, I want you to sense something steady, not flashy, not forced, steady, steady in thought, steady in emotion, steady in motion, steady in commitment. Steady in peace. You won't meet a man hoping to grow someday. You'll meet a man who chose to grow before you arrived. That is who I am becoming for you. Even before I know your face, I'm choosing discipline over distraction so I can choose you without hesitation. Dear future wife, there's something else I need you to understand about this becoming. It isn't accidental. It isn't passive. It isn't something that's just happening with time. It's intentional. Growth doesn't happen just because years pass. Some people grow older. Some people grow deeper. I'm choosing depth because I don't want to arrive in your life as a man who simply aged into readiness. I want to arrive as a man who prepared for it. There were seasons when distraction tempted me. Endless scrolling, empty conversations, temporary validation, attention without intention. And I had to ask myself something difficult. Am I becoming the kind of man who can sustain forever? Because forever is not sustained by charm. It's sustained by character. I don't want to impress you with personality and disappoint you with inconsistency. So I'm choosing discipline over distraction. Discipline in how I use my time. Discipline in how I manage my thoughts. Discipline in what I entertain emotionally, because what I practice now becomes what I default to later. If I default to laziness now, I'll default to complacency in marriage. If I default to avoidance now, I'll default to silence in conflict. If I default to ego now, I'll default to defensiveness later. So I'm rewiring those defaults. I'm practicing finishing what I start, practicing following through on commitments, practicing doing difficult things even when motivation fades. Because motivation is temporary. Discipline is reliable. Future wife, I don't want to love you intensely for a season and then gradually grow passive. I want to love you consistently. Consistency is built before commitment. There's something else I've been confronting quietly. My relationship with control. I like clarity. I like structure. I like knowing where things are going. But marriage isn't fully controllable. Two humans evolving together will always include unpredictability. So I'm learning flexibility. Learning to adapt without frustration, learning to compromise without resentment, learning to release perfectionism, because perfectionism can turn into pressure. And pressure can suffocate connection. I don't want to pressure you to be flawless. I want to grow with you authentically. I'm also refining my response to stress. Stress reveals character. When I'm tired, do I become short? When I'm overwhelmed, do I withdraw? When things don't go my way, do I become rigid? I'm paying attention to those moments now. Because I don't want stress to erode warmth later. I want stress to be navigated with maturity. That requires awareness and practice. Practice choosing calm over reaction. Practice choosing listening over interrupting. Practice choosing humility over ego. Practice choosing resolution over being right. I don't want to win arguments with you. I want to protect connection. There's a difference. When an argument can cost intimacy, protecting intimacy may require losing the argument. I'm learning which one matters more. Future wife, I'm strengthening my integrity when no one is watching, because integrity in private becomes trust in public. Trust is the currency of marriage, and trust is built long before vows. I'm careful about what I entertain emotionally. I don't flirt with temptation. I don't play with boundaries, because loyalty isn't reactive, it's proactive. I want you feeling secure with me. Secure not because I reassure you constantly, but because my character reassures you consistently. I'm learning that love is stewardship. You are not an accessory to my life. You will be entrusted to my care. Not owned, not controlled, cared for, protected emotionally, protected spiritually, protected physically, protected in reputation. And stewardship requires preparation. I'm also refining how I view success. Success is not only achievement, it's alignment. Alignment between values and actions. Alignment between words and consistency. Alignment between ambition and presence. I don't want to sacrifice intimacy for accomplishment. I want to pursue both wisely. That requires balance. Balance is not automatic. It's intentional. Future wife, I'm confronting my impatience. Impatience in traffic. Impatience in waiting. Impatience in delayed results. Because impatience in small things becomes impatience in big things. And I don't want to rush you, rush your healing, rush your processing, rush your growth. I want to walk with you at a sustainable pace. Sustainable love requires patience. I'm learning to ask better questions, instead of assuming, instead of reacting, instead of filling silence with my own narrative. I want to understand before responding, because misunderstanding often grows from assumption, and assumption creates unnecessary conflict. I'm practicing curiosity. Curiosity invites connection. Defensiveness blocks it. There's another area I've been strengthening, emotional endurance, the ability to sit in discomfort without escaping. If you're upset, I don't want to shut down. If you're emotional, I don't want to minimize. If you're processing something deeply, I don't want to rush resolution. I want to sit with you, even when it's uncomfortable, even when I don't have immediate answers. Presence is more powerful than solutions. I'm learning that. Future wife, I'm becoming more secure in myself, not arrogant. Secure. Secure enough to celebrate your independence. Secure enough to support your dreams without feeling threatened. Secure enough to admit when I need reassurance. Secure enough to admit when I need reassurance. Secure enough to allow you emotional space without assuming rejection. Security prevents unnecessary drama. And I want peace, not constant emotional turbulence. Peace doesn't mean boring, it means stable. Stable enough to laugh freely. Stable enough to dream boldly. Stable enough to weather storms. I don't want you walking on eggshells around me. I want you feeling free. Freedom in marriage comes from trust. Trust comes from consistency. Consistency comes from discipline, and discipline is what I'm building now. There are still areas where I am refining, moments when my pride surfaces, moments when I overthink, moments when I hesitate to express vulnerability, but I don't ignore those moments. I examine them, because unexamined habits become future problems, and I refuse to carry avoidable problems into our home. Future wife, when we finally meet, I want you sensing something grounded, not flashy, not overwhelming, grounded, grounded in conviction, grounded in maturity, grounded in maturity. You'll meet a man rooted in it, rooted enough to build with you, rooted enough to lead gently, rooted enough to follow when wisdom requires it, rooted enough to stay steady when emotions rise. I'm not becoming for applause. I'm becoming for alignment. For the day when I'll look at you and say, I'm ready. Not ready because time passed. Ready because I prepared. And when that day comes, I won't hesitate. Because discipline now makes commitment later unshakable. That is who I am becoming. For you. Long before you ever knew my name. I'm not rushing toward you. I'm refining myself for you. Dear future wife, there's another layer to this becoming that I haven't fully spoken about. It's not just about discipline. It's not just about emotional maturity. It's not just about stability. It's about refinement. Refinement is different from improvement. Improvement can be external. Refinement is internal. It's the quiet process of smoothing rough edges, of confronting blind spots, of unlearning habits that once felt normal, of choosing growth over comfort when no one is watching. I'm not rushing toward you. I'm refining myself for you. There was a time when I thought love would motivate me to change, but I realized something deeper. Change that depends on romance fades. When romance fades, when romance fluctuates, change rooted in conviction endures. So I'm building conviction now. Conviction to be patient even when I'm tired. Conviction to communicate even when it's uncomfortable. Conviction to choose integrity even when temptation whispers. Conviction to lead with humility instead of ego. Because I don't want to meet you inspired. I want to meet you prepared. Future wife, I'm refining how I speak. Words carry weight, tone carries weight, time carries weight. I've learned that you can say something true in a way that still hurts. And truth without gentleness damages trust. So I'm practicing measured speech, learning to pause before reacting, learning to ask questions before assuming, learning to lower my voice instead of raising it because I want our home to feel calm, not tense. I don't want you bracing for my mood. I want you resting in my steadiness. I'm also refining how I listen. Listening isn't waiting for your turn to talk. It's understanding before responding. It's hearing emotion behind words. It's recognizing when silence means something deeper. I want to hear you fully, not partially. I don't want you repeating yourself because I was distracted. I don't want you feeling unseen in your own home. So I'm practicing attentiveness now, putting distractions away, being present in conversations, valuing depth over noise. Because presence is one of the greatest forms of love. There's another area I've been confronting. My pride. Pride can hide in subtle ways, in wanting to be right, in wanting to defend quickly, in wanting to protect image, but image is fragile. Character is durable. I don't want to protect image. I want to protect connection. And connection sometimes requires admitting fault first, apologizing first, softening first. I'm learning that being right is less important than being relational. Future wife, I'm refining my understanding of responsibility. Responsibility isn't control, it's accountability. Accountability for my tone, for my reactions, for my leadership, for the emotional climate I contribute to. I don't want to blame stress for poor behavior. I want to manage stress responsibly. I don't want to excuse distance with busyness. I want to prioritize you intentionally. I'm building habits now that protect future peace. Time boundaries, financial discipline, healthy routines, because chaos outside can create chaos inside. And I want our home to feel anchored, anchored in order, anchored in clarity, anchored in shared rhythm. I'm refining how I handle conflict internally. Instead of replaying arguments in my mind, I'm learning to resolve quickly. Instead of storing resentment, I'm practicing release. Because resentment accumulates quietly. And quiet accumulation becomes emotional distance. I refuse to let distance grow silently. If something bothers me, I want to address it respectfully. If something hurts you, I want to hear it fully. Conflict isn't failure, avoidance is. So I'm refining courage. Courage to initiate hard conversations. Courage to initiate hard conversations. Courage to ask for reassurance. Courage to express affection openly. I don't want to be emotionally reserved with you. I want to be emotionally available, not dramatic, not unstable, available. There's something else I've realized during this becoming. I want to build a culture in our marriage, a culture of encouragement, a culture of honesty, a culture of forgiveness, a culture of laughter. Culture doesn't appear by accident. It's shaped by consistent behavior. So I'm shaping my behavior now, choosing kindness in small interactions, choosing gratitude regularly, choosing optimism over cynicism, because cynicism slowly erodes warmth. And I want warmth. Future wife, I'm refining how I handle disappointment, disappointment in career, disappointment in plans, disappointment in outcomes, because disappointment will come in life, and I don't want to project it onto you. I want to process it maturely. To say I'm frustrated, but I'm working through it, not to withdraw emotionally, not to become distant, not to become irritable. I want emotional regulation to be part of my character. I'm also learning to celebrate small wins, to celebrate growth, to celebrate effort, because celebration builds connection. I don't want to overlook your achievements. I don't want to minimize your progress. I want to cheer for you genuinely, without insecurity, without comparison, without ego. Security allows celebration, and security is something I'm building now. There are still areas where I'm refining. Moments when I overthink instead of trusting. Moments when I hesitate instead of expressing. Moments when I hesitate instead of expressing. Moments when I default to logic instead of empathy, but awareness changes trajectory. I don't ignore those moments. I adjust them. Because I don't want you inheriting avoidable friction. I want you inheriting intentional growth. Future wife, I am not becoming for applause, not for validation, not for admiration. I am becoming because you deserve a man who has confronted himself, who has refined his character, who has chosen growth over ego, who has chosen discipline over distraction, who has chosen peace over pride. When you finally meet me, I don't want you impressed by charisma. I want you grounded in security. I want you feeling safe. Safe in my tone. Safe in my loyalty. Safe in my loyalty. Safe in my leadership. Safe in my vulnerability. Safe in my consistency. You won't meet a man who is flawless. You'll meet a man who is intentional. Intentional in love. Intentional in speech. Intentional in growth. Intentional in growth. Intentional in commitment. And that intention is the result of seasons you never saw. Seasons of solitude, seasons of self-reflection, seasons of discipline, seasons of refinement. I'm not rushing toward you, because rushing creates cracks. I'm refining myself. So when we build on strength. Strength shaped in private, strength built in patience, strength anchored in character. That is who I am becoming for you. Even before you ever knew I existed, I'm building the habits that will protect our peace. Dear future wife, there's one more layer to this becoming that I need you to understand. It's not just about who I am internally. It's about what I practice daily. Because who you are in private habits becomes who you are in public commitment. I don't want to promise you things I haven't trained myself to sustain. Anyone can speak beautifully about love. Not everyone can live it consistently. So I'm building the habits that will protect our peace. Peace doesn't just appear because two people care about each other. Peace is guarded by discipline, guarded by humility, guarded by attentiveness, guarded by self-control. I'm training myself to be consistent when emotions fluctuate, because emotions will fluctuate. There will be seasons where life feels heavy, seasons where work demands more, seasons where sleep is short, seasons where stress feels louder than romance. And in those seasons, habits matter more than feelings. So I'm practicing showing up when I don't feel like it, practicing finishing what I start, practicing doing what's right even when motivation fades. Because love isn't proven in excitement, it's proven in endurance. Future wife, I don't want you feeling like my effort depends on my mood. I want you knowing my effort depends on my character. Character doesn't take days off. It doesn't disappear when stressed. It doesn't fluctuate with convenience. It remains steady. I'm building that steadiness now. There were times when I relied too much on bursts of inspiration, moments where I would be intensely focused, then lose rhythm. But rhythm is what sustains long-term growth. And marriage requires rhythm. Daily check-ins, daily kindness, daily intentionality, daily awareness. I'm building rhythm now, waking up with discipline, organizing my priorities, guarding my time, because time mismanaged becomes attention misdirected, and attention misdirected erodes intimacy. I don't want to give you leftovers of my energy. I want to give you presence. There's another habit I'm building, gratitude. It's easy to focus on what's missing, easy to compare, easy to chase the next milestone, but gratitude anchors perspective, and perspective stabilizes emotion. I want to look at years from now and still feel thankful, still feel amazed, still feel appreciative, not entitled. Entitlement kills admiration. Gratitude sustains it. So I'm practicing gratitude now in small things, in ordinary moments, in delayed outcomes, because appreciation is a muscle, and I want it strong. Future wife, I'm also building emotional endurance, the ability to sit with tension without escalating it, the ability to pause before responding, the ability to choose softness instead of sarcasm, because sarcasm can wound, tone can wound, dismissiveness can wound, and wounds accumulate quietly. I don't want you feeling small in my presence. I want you feeling valued. So I'm training myself to be aware of tone, aware of timing, aware of hyming, aware of how words land. There's another habit I'm cultivating. Forgiveness, quick forgiveness, not superficial, but intentional. I don't want to hold grudges. I don't want to store resentment. I don't want to replay mistakes, because stored resentment hardens the heart, and a hardened heart can't love freely. So I'm practicing letting go now, releasing minor offenses, choosing grace, choosing understanding, choosing empathy, because grace protects longevity. I'm also building boundaries, boundaries with distractions, boundaries with unhealthy habits, boundaries with unhealthy habits, boundaries with anything that could compete with our connection. I don't want external noise invading our peace. And boundaries are not restriction. They are protection. Protection of focus, protection of loyalty, protection of intimacy. Future wife, I'm learning to celebrate others genuinely, without comparison, without insecurity, because your success will never threaten me. Your growth will never intimidate me. Your strength will never diminish me. Security celebrates. Insecurity competes. And I refuse to compete with my partner. I want to stand beside you proudly, support you wholeheartedly, encourage you consistently. That kind of support requires inner security. So I'm building it now. There are moments when I still feel pressure, pressure to achieve, pressure to achieve, pressure to achieve, pressure to prove myself. But I'm learning to separate pressure from purpose. Purpose is steady. Pressure is frantic. I don't want to bring frantic energy into our home. I want to bring steady presence. Steady presence calms tension. Steady presence builds trust. Steady presence anchors emotion. That's who I'm becoming. Not perfect, not finished, but intentional. There are still days when I overthink. Still days when I question timing. Still days when I feel stretched. But I don't run from those days. I grow through them. Because resilience isn't built in comfort, it's built in discipline. Future wife, when you finally meet me, I don't want you meeting potential. I want you meeting preparation. Preparation in communication. Preparation in character. Preparation in commitment. Preparation in emotional maturity. You won't meet a man who hopes he can sustain love. You'll meet a man who trained himself too, not through grand gestures, through daily habits, through quiet consistency, through internal refinement, by building the habits that will protect our peace when emotions fluctuate, the habits that will protect our intimacy when life feels busy, the habits that will protect our connection when conflict appears. Because peace isn't automatic, it's guarded intentionally, and I intend to guard it fiercely. That is who I am becoming, not for applause, not for admiration, for alignment, for partnership, for forever. And when I finally look at you and say, I choose you, it won't be impulsive. It will be prepared, because I've been becoming long before you arrived, and I refuse to meet you unready. I'm not just waiting for you. I'm preparing to protect us. Dear future wife, if this is the last thing I ever write about becoming, then I want it to carry the full weight of my intention. I'm not just trying to be impressive. I'm trying to be dependable. There's a difference. Impressive fades. Dependable sustains. I don't want to meet you with energy that dazzles and then disappears. I want to meet you with steadiness that endures, because love isn't proven in the first 6 months. It's proven in the 6th year, in the ordinary mornings, in the late night conversations, in the stressful seasons, in the quiet, unnoticed days. And I refuse to show up to that future casually. Future wife, I've learned something about becoming. It's not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's waking up and choosing discipline when no one sees. It's choosing maturity in small interactions. It's confronting ego quietly. It's correcting tone when no one calls you out. It's choosing integrity when compromise feels easier. Becoming isn't loud. It's steady. And steady is what sustains forever. There was a time when I thought love would transform me overnight, But I've realized something sobering. Marriage magnifies who you already are. If I am inconsistent now, I will be inconsistent later. If I am reactive now, I will be reactive later. If I am careless now, I will be careless later. So instead of hoping vows will fix weaknesses, I'm addressing them now. I'm asking hard questions. Am I patient under pressure? Am I kind when frustrated? Am I humble when corrected? Am I present when distracted? Because I don't want you inheriting potential. I want you experiencing preparation. Preparation is a form of respect. Respect for you. Respect for covenant. Respect for legacy. I'm not becoming because you demand perfection. You deserve intention. You deserve effort before arrival. You deserve a man who thought about you long before he met you. There's something sacred about protecting what you haven't yet received. I'm protecting you by protecting my habits, by protecting my mind, by protecting my character, by protecting my integrity. Because once I commit to you, I don't want anything competing for my focus. Not ego, not distraction, not immaturity. I want clarity, clear communication, clear priorities, clear communication. Have clear priorities, clear commitment. I've learned that emotional stability isn't automatic, it's practiced. Practiced when stress hits. Practiced when disappointment appears. Practiced when fatigue lowers patience. And I've been practicing calm responses instead of reactive ones. Practicing listening instead of interrupting. Practicing empathy instead of defensiveness. Practicing silence when pride wants to speak. Because pride erodes connection faster than conflict ever could. Conflict can refine. Pride divides. And I refuse to let pride live in our home. Future wife, I've also learned the importance of vision. Vision isn't just career goals. It's relational clarity. What kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of atmosphere do I want in our home? What kind of father do I want to become? What kind of emotional safety do I want you to feel? I don't want chaos disguised as passion. I don't want tension normalized as intensity. I want warmth. I want laughter. I want depth. I want a home where hard conversations happen respectfully, where affection is expressed freely, where mistakes are forgiven quickly, where growth is encouraged daily. That kind of home doesn't appear by accident. It's built intentionally, and I'm building the internal blueprint now. There are still parts of me being refined, moments when I overthink instead of trust, moments when I hesitate instead of express, moments when I hesitate instead of express, moments when I default to logic instead of empathy. But awareness changes everything. Awareness prevents repetition. Awareness invites growth. I don't hide my weaknesses anymore. I confront them. Because what I confront now won't surprise you later. And I don't want you surprised by hidden patterns. I want you confident in who I am. Confident that when I say forever, I understand the weight of it. Confident that when I say, I choose you, it's not impulsive. Confident that when I promise to protect, I mean emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Confident that when I say I'm here, I won't disappear when things get heavy. Future wife, I'm becoming the man who doesn't shut down in conflict. The man who doesn't avoid hard conversations. The man who doesn't let frustration turn into distance. The man who checks his tone before speaking. The man who apologizes without delay. The man who listens even when he disagrees. The man who prioritizes connection over being right. Because being right without connection is empty. Connection is what matters. I'm also learning to celebrate slowly, to appreciate ordinary days, to value routine. Because marriage isn't constant excitement. It's shared rhythm, shared responsibility, shared growth, and rhythm requires discipline. Discipline to check in emotionally. Discipline to pursue you even after familiarity sets in. Discipline to protect date nights from busyness. Discipline to maintain curiosity about who you are becoming. I don't want to grow indifferent over time. I want to grow intentional. Indifference is passive. Intentionality is active. And active love sustains intimacy. There's something else I've learned in this becoming. Security matters more than charm. Charm can attract. Security sustains. Security in who I am, security in my loyalty, security in my leadership, security in my vulnerability. I don't want you wondering where you stand. I want you knowing, not because I reassure you daily with words alone, but because my consistency reassures you without doubt. Consistency is built before commitment, and I am building it. I'm not becoming for applause. I'm not becoming for validation. I'm not becoming to prove anything to anyone. I'm becoming because forever deserves preparation, because covenant deserves maturity, because you deserve effort. When you finally meet me, I don't want you impressed by ambition alone. I want you grounded in peace. Peace in how I speak, peace in how I respond, Peace in how I prioritize. Peace in how I lead. Peace in how I lead. Peace in how I love. You won't meet a man chasing identity. You'll meet a man rooted in it. Rooted enough to build with you. Rooted enough to stand firm in storms. Rooted enough to bend when humility requires it. Rooted enough to admit when he needs you too. Because strength without vulnerability is incomplete, and I don't want to be incomplete beside you. I want to be whole. Whole in awareness, whole in discipline, whole in conviction, whole in commitment. So when I finally look at you and say I'm ready, it won't be a hopeful guess. It will be a grounded certainty. Because I didn't wait idly. I became intentionally. I didn't postpone growth. I pursued it. I didn't assume love would fix me. I refined myself for it. Future wife, I'm not just waiting for you. I'm preparing to protect us. Protect our peace. Protect our connection. Protect our vision. Protect our commitment. Protect the home we will build. And when that day comes, when our paths finally align, you will not meet a man hoping to grow someday. You will meet a man who chose to grow long before you arrived. That is who I am becoming. For you. For us. For forever.
I don't want to meet you and say, I hope I can figure this out. I want to meet you and say, I have been preparing for this, preparing to choose you intentionally, preparing to honor you consistently, preparing to protect our peace fiercely, preparing to grow beside you humbly. Future wife, I am not perfect. I still have area to refine. Moment of impotence, moment of overthinking, moment of self-doubt. But the difference now is awareness. And awareness changes trajectory. I am becoming the man you deserve, not because you demanded perfection, but because you deserve intention. You deserve a man who has confronted himself, who has matured through solitude, who has learned from mistakes, who has strengthened weakness, who has chosen discipline over distraction, who has chosen growth over comfort, who has chosen patience over pressure. When we finally meet, I want you to sense it, not in arrogance, not in performance, in steadiness, in clarity, in peace.